Not to mention the smoke looks normal. That's the only way I know. It's like you start seeing white smoke coming out of the tailpipe. It's like, uh-oh.
It's cold. It's snowing, for crying. Today, this thing's still having overheat problems. I got a thermostat, but before I do that, I'm going to do a quick test to see if I need to go further into seeing whether or not the head gasket's blown. And the quickest, easiest way to test is just start your car up. This hasn't been running very long. It's just barely warm. And throttle up and see if that becomes a geyser. And I'm going to find throttle linkage.
Will this work on any car that I get?
It should work on any car. At least it will show whether or not, it will show if gas is getting into the cooling system. If coolant's getting into the oil system, that's easy enough. You pull the oil and there's a milkshake. It'll be whitish, foamy. But if it's not getting through to the oil and it's just exhaust gas leaking into the coolant system, sometimes you can get backfill. And gas is good.
Not to mention the smoke looks normal. That's the only way I know. It's like you start seeing white smoke coming out of the tailpipe. It's like, uh-oh.
It's cold. It's snowing, for crying. So.
Yeah.
And this
No.
thing's been sitting for about 3 weeks because it overheated on my way back from work. And I ordered a thermostat. Well, thermostat's finally in. And I'm just debating whether or not to even fool with it. And I'm back to it's probably the thermostat. Because this, other than the snow venting to fall in it, there's no bubbling, there's no turmoil, there's no nothing. So that's good. What's probably wrong is the thermostat's messed up and it won't open. So it gets a little warm and it overheats. And so, hey. Quick test, nothing to show, happy about that. It's misfiring and you can smell gas, and that's part of the problem. For some reason the cylinder 3 is not firing right. I'm starting to think it's got a foul plug, or improperly gap plug, or just a bad plug. And that's the cylinder that misfires. It's this one that's not doing good. It also needs O2 sensors. I'm going to do that. Once I get all that sorted, that should be fine. Although something else I've noticed on these things, even the ones running the best when it's cold, smoke. So, oil does get past the rings. When it's cold, you're going to get more oil getting past the rings than when it's not. So, you may have a little bit more smoke than you would normally see in a brand new car. Doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong. Now, if it's a big cloud of blue smoke, then you probably have a problem. Especially if you're having to fill the oil up every time you get gas. Then you have a 2-cycle. That was the truck at the end. Didn't do that bad. I mean, it got 2 quarts of oil. Took 2 quarts of oil and 10 gallons of gas to go about 50 miles. It was the 70s. All right.
It was 5 years ago.
I think that's it for this one for today. My conclusion is head gaskets are probably fine, so I'm going to go back to get stuff set up to change the thermostat, change the O2 sensors, and do the transmission linkage. I'm going to do the O2 sensor while I do that.
Now, if you're wondering why he's not doing it today, well...
Yeah, it's snowing and it's cold. And I've been fighting something from the cold, so... I'm not up to laying on my back on cold concrete right now.
Yeah, not to mention, you're right, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah, snow's picking up again. We had a bunch of snow. You can see a little bit back here where it melted off. We had Oh, about a foot total. Nah, probably about 8 inches total. With a 1/4 inch ice and an inch of sleet, you can see the ice is still here some places. But it's mostly gone, but it's been snowing the last 2 days. It's not sticking, but it has made it unpleasant to work out here. Other projects that are going to be coming up is fuel pump on the truck, on the Ford, because it's starting to give up. I've got to find where the transmission, what transmission seal has failed on the old Chief back there, because it's leaking transmission fluid pretty bad. And the Kia is trying to die again. I'm still trying to figure out what's wrong with the Kia. So, it's sending weird error codes. I'm thinking it's a bad O2 sensor, because it's sending codes for stuff that doesn't exist in the car. I'm getting codes for sensors that don't exist. So, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I think it's an O2. I think it's a combination of one of the sensors I replaced was bad, because I'm getting a different code for the same sensor. So, I'm going to switch that out again and get another one. It was a cheap one. I'm going to buy a little nicer one, see if that fixes it. And the other code, I think it's going to be an O2 sensor code, because it has to do with fuel feed, and it's getting random on what it's doing. I'm getting the same kind of problem I'm having with the Subaru. So, and I think it's going to be the same thing as Subaru. I think it's going to be the O2 sensor. The upstream O2 sensor is failing, so it's not giving a proper fuel mix. And that's causing it to run wrong, especially in the cold. Everything else, there's a few other sensors it could be. I'm probably going to start out with those two. There's a air temperature sensor that could be the problem for why it's cold. It's cheap. I may go on and order it because it's a fairly cheap sensor. And I may or may not have broke the one in it. It got ripped out when I was working on something, so it may be damaged. So I'll go on and replace it, and it could be another one that's giving weird codes. Because I'm getting codes for a temperature sensor that doesn't exist for the transmission, and there isn't one. So, I don't know. Oh, it's ongoing, like everything. Yep. Until next time, it'll probably be the Subaru again coming up.
So long.